in like 3 to 4 minutes-ish, but Nikki Cross ended up going against Dana Brooke and beat her with still about a minute and a half left in the clock. When there was a confrontation between Bayley and Nikki Cross, Nikki chose the stipulation as now being a 2-on-1 handicap match in favor of herself and Alexa going for the SmackDown Women's Championship. So there'll be a 2-on-1 handicap match with Bayley defending. And the night wrapped up with Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre defeating Roman Reigns and Gary the Goat Garbutt. Shane got to choose Roman's tag team partner, and they found a janitor of the arena who had a limp to him backstage, and then ended up selecting him as Roman's tag team partner. Gary the Goat came out in a mask, and it was later revealed that it really wasn't Gary the Goat underneath the mask, as it was Cedric Alexander, who ended up hitting some big spots on both Shane and Drew, but it wasn't enough, and he took the loss for his team with Roman Reigns. SmackDown was definitely the better show this week, even though Eric Bischoff has yet to officially move into his new role, as him and his family are still moving from Wyoming to Stamford, Connecticut. And so, as he said on his podcast, 83 Weeks, that he's actually just picking up almost only his clothing and starting off new to take over this role as leading SmackDown Live as it gets ready to go to Fox. The show opened with a confrontation earlier in the day between Dolph Ziggler and Kevin Owens in the parking lot. It became a brawl, and Shane McMahon canceled their main event match that was supposed to happen against each other and kicked Kevin Owens out of the building. Of course, that didn't last. As the show officially started, Kevin came through the crowd and started calling out Shane McMahon. Shane came out, cut off his microphones, sent out security. Owens went back through the crowd and apparently left the building. And that started off the show. Shinsuke Nakamura defeated Finn Balor in what was labeled as their first time ever in a SmackDown ring, because I believe they went against each other in New Japan. Bayley and Nikki Cross signed the contract for the SmackDown Women's title, as it's now, as I said, a handicap match at Extreme Rules. Nikki Cross then defeated Carmella. Insults were slung during the first ever SmackDown Tag Team Championship Summit involving Daniel Bryan and Rowan, The New Day, and Heavy Machinery. Otis then went on to defeat Xavier Woods and Daniel Bryan in a triple threat match, sort of to highlight what's going to happen on Sunday. And Roman Reigns defeated Dolph Ziggler because that was the new main event, with Dolph Ziggler basically doing Shane McMahon's bidding for him. And that takes us into Extreme Rules, which is going to happen this Sunday, July 14th, from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, at the Wells Fargo Center. So, what better place to put on an Extreme pay-per-view than in the city of Extreme, Philadelphia? There'll be the regular pre-show, which unfortunately no matches have been announced for it, though more than likely it's going to be the Cruiserweight Championship that gets put into the pre-show, so it won't be a surprise. Anyways, there's 10 matches on the card at the moment, and I'm going to run down the matches and give my picks for what I hope to see. Got Braun Strowman taking on Bobby Lashley in a last man standing match. I'm personally tired of these guys matching up against each other. Lashley's return has been very lackluster and it's been well over a year since he returned. Braun Strowman has so many stop and starts, whether it's due to injury or somebody behind the scenes not liking an attitude that Braun is displaying. Should be a decent match, hard hitting after what we saw them go through the Titantron a couple weeks ago. Of course, Lashley was the one speared through the set, but he came out less injured than Braun Strowman in WWE Logic. I know Braun Strowman was dealing with an injury, so that's why he was written out. Maybe they should have reversed their roles, but it is what it is. I'm going to go with Braun Strowman picking up the victory and hopefully moving on from this never-ending battle with Bobby Lashley. The Revival are going to defend their Raw Tag Team Championships against the Usos. These two teams are really good. They work great against each other. I do not see it being the time for the Usos to get their, what would it be, 7th or 8th tag team title. I'm not sure. It could be up to 7 at least. The Revival need to actually have matches and retain their titles, not just some dark match or quick flip of the titles. If they hope to convince Dawson and Wilder to stay in WWE and not jump ship to AEW, they kind of need to highlight them, sort of like what they're doing with Gallows and Anderson, with them being re-signed. Ricochet is going to defend the U.S. title against AJ Styles. AJ has held the titles in WWE for multiple days at a time, whether it's the WWE Championship or even the U.S. title. Ricochet needs to be highlighted. AJ Styles can do that for him, and Ricochet should retain the championship. Whether it's due to a disqualification because the Good Brothers get involved and there's more beatdown, I don't know, but I can see Ricochet retaining the title. Aleister Black finally figured out who knocked on his door in a bizarre Nicky 9 Doors, why his person was not standing in front of the door when it was opened. It's beyond me, but they finally did pull the trigger, and it is Cesaro who will be facing off against Aleister Black. Some people thought it was going to be Randy Orton. There had been heavy rumors that it was going to be Cesaro anyway, so it was, or is going to be Cesaro. This is going to be a really good match between these two. I think they're going to be fairly well balanced in their approach to the match. Their skill levels, their toughness. It could end up being a bit like Sheamus and Cesaro when they battled each other a couple of years ago before forming the Bar. I do not see these two forming any sort of tag team, but if they're going to give any sort of push to Cesaro, they can't have him lose, but they also can't have Aleister Black lose when he's been waiting all this time to get a challenger. The only way it makes sense to me is somehow it doesn't look like there's any stipulation to it. So if there's some sort of just double disqualification in a Extreme Rules pay-per-view of all things, but some sort of double disqualification where these two just refuse to listen to the referee and there is no winner, no loser, and we continue to brawl further and advance to whether it's SummerSlam or beyond that. That's my prediction, actually, is that there is no winner or loser. Daniel Bryan, Eric Rowan are going to defend the SmackDown Tag Team titles against The New Day and Heavy Machinery, with Otis picking up the victory. Heavy Machinery somewhat have the momentum that WWE likes to talk about going into a challenge for a title or just a match itself on pay-per-view. I don't think it's enough momentum to take the titles off of Bryan and Roman yet. So I'm picking the titles to stay put on Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan. Drew Gulak is going to go against Tony Nese. This was not an automatic rematch for the Cruiserweight Championship that Tony Nese ideally should have gotten. But in an age where McMahon's have said there are no automatic rematch going on, Tony Nese actually had to defeat Akira Tozawa to get this title shot. He did so on 205 Live, and he's going to go against Drew Gulak for the Cruiserweight Championship. Even though Nese was not pinned to lose his title, this time he will be pinned or submitted by Drew Gulak, and Gulak will retain the Cruiserweight Championship. Kofi Kingston is set to defend the WWE Championship against Samoa Joe. Joe is an incredible guy. He's definitely main event caliber. He probably should be the WWE Champion, but I don't know who is going to take it off of Kofi. But whoever it is going to get a huge rub when it does happen because of the buildup that the fans gave to Kofi to get his match at WrestleMania and everything that happened to that. There has to be somebody who comes in and it can be devastating to Kofi to take that title. Could it be Joe? Any day it could be Joe, but I don't think it's going to be. Kofi retains the WWE Championship. The Undertaker and Roman Reigns are teaming together to go against Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre. Why? That's my only question. We've just beaten Roman, Drew, and Shane McMahon to death. No pun intended, with The Undertaker being in there. I guess Taker's looking to redeem himself from his horrible Goldberg experience at Super Showdown. So teaming with Roman could hopefully help. Could also help cover up any slowness that The Undertaker now has and maintain his dignity and not embarrass himself. Rumor has it that this is going to lead to an Undertaker versus Drew McIntyre match, possibly a casket match at SummerSlam. Where that takes Roman beyond this is beyond me. And Kevin Owens just recently stunned Shane McMahon on SmackDown. And they're looking to use that and hopefully get rid of Shane eventually off TV. And so Owens could get involved. I see the team of Roman and Undertaker getting the victory. I'm going to go with the WWE Women's SmackDown Championship match with Bayley defending in a handicap match against Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross. Rumors have been circulating that Sasha Banks could be back in time, could be as early as this Sunday at Extreme Rules, but there's been a leaked graphic of SummerSlam, and Sasha Banks is on it. So it kind of makes it seem as though they figured everything out with her, and she's coming back. Plus, if you follow anything of hers on Twitter, you've seen that she's dyed her hair back purple and has been in Japan doing some training. So this would be the opportunity for her to come back. She could help even out the sides with the fact that it is a handicap match. I see Bayley retaining. Now here's some messed up long-term booking or short-term booking in a way, that fantasy booking that I'm going to put out there that could happen on this show. Somehow they have to get to Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss feuding with each other because we know clearly that Nikki